Now, if you're a proactive family leader trying to help your family come to terms and live well with a terminal illness interdependently as a whole family matter, I am hoping that with me and my special guest, Ben Biddick, you actually get to learn and share with your family and friends that we are working on integrating tools that can really help you. And we started off by saying, of course, proactive family involvement, shared decision making, and advanced care planning with life story work. But there are two other tools that are wanting to be connected. It's in the nature of this space. The first one is healthcare team integration. As you may have heard earlier in an earlier presentation, that was kind of important in the space of shared decision making, where decisions are being shared and made by family members and, of course, the person with a terminal illness, but also with healthcare providers. And Ben, I just asked uh, one or two experts around shared decision making if this actually happens, if healthcare workers actually communicate with families and people that are facing terminal illness in a digital space. Of course, it's expected for them to be able to communicate in the healthcare setting, in the doctor's office. But is it actually even possible to have them connected in a digital space so that they can message each other, update each other digitally? And so that's one of the spaces that we're exploring, healthcare team integration. And we really would love to see this happen. The other thing that I am just so happy to have discovered is biometrics and psychometrics. And you will definitely hear more about that from Ben. When Ben and I started talking about this, we got so excited about the possibility of collaboration that weeks later we were still talking about it over email. And it's one of those things that, Eureka, how come I didn't think about this? I only got to think about this when I met Ben and I listened to him talk about his company. So that was kind of like, all right, no matter how much I read or no matter how much I research, life will throw something at you that you will be so surprised about. And you'll be like, wow, I should have known this. But now that I know it, I'm just so happy that we can possibly put this together. So, yes, if you are a proactive family leader trying to help your family come to terms to live well with a terminal illness, you are in the right space. And if and when you join our community, you will be in a better space because it's such a grave responsibility and it's overwhelming. And so I'm just making sure that at the end of this, we get to continue the conversation and hope that you join our community so we can find ways to collaborate or work towards co creating solutions. Okay. For now, I'm just super happy to share about my work. It's taken me 5 years since this project got accepted for incubation at University of Wisconsin-Madison's Discovery to Product program. Um, so it's been a while since I got it started in 2019, Ben. That's how long I have been at this. So I'm sure that as a founder yourself, you have, okay, launch at some point, but before that, spend so much time to really get to know what you're doing. And there are so many points of vulnerability, so much uncertainty in what we do that we're kind of like hoping for help. And I got that help with the Discovery to Product program. It's an intensive program for UW-Madison innovators committed to bringing a technology, device, app, consumer product, or what we qualify for, social impact solution to market. I am wholeheartedly grateful for my D2P or Discovery to Product mentors. There have been two of them in the 5 years that I spent there, Cecily Brose and Amy Arnold Dusin. And I totally recommend getting into the program if you really want to develop and test hypotheses related to desirability, feasibility, and viability as you work to reduce risk and create a roadmap to impact for your idea, discovery, or innovation. And with that, I hope that you enjoyed the presentation I'm about to make. I will, of course, set my screen up for you. Let me first share my screen. I'll ask you to let me know if you can see it. Okay. can see my screen. Great. I'll
You
make
can
this.
just
Yeah.
make it big.
Yeah. All right. Okay. There we go. Okay. So you see the bigger space
It
now?
is perfect and beautiful looking. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, let's see. Coming to terms and living well with a terminal illness is a whole family matter. It's a grave responsibility and it's overwhelming to seek information and to take action. Around 90 million are living with a serious life-threatening illness in America right now. And over the next 25 years, that number will double. 2 out of 3 Americans have not completed advanced directives, and those with advanced directives spent around $100,000 less than those without them. We all want our loved ones to be safe, happy, and healthy, but when they cannot make decisions for themselves anymore, how can we actually help them work on plans for end-of-life care beyond safety and survival? How can we truly help them to live well while they're losing their independence and they're seeking help from others in all aspects of life? Our healthcare system is terminally ill with health economics. We've got inequity and disparities in access to care, quality of care, and health outcomes based on race, socioeconomic status, geographic location, and insurance coverage. And all of these companies provide advanced care planning in healthcare settings. But we have also got a fundamental building block that naturally helps to fulfill essential needs like love, security, and support. It's the family in its community that plays the most crucial role in being there for end of life care, even in more individualistic societies. I have been a creative director in a national advertising agency serving Cancer Treatment Center of America. But as a user experience architect in public media, I am most proud of my wealth of experience in teaching and world travel, in connecting and finding common ground for sense making and problem solving together, in families and communities of learning. My startup, A Whole Family Matter, supports proactive family leaders in leading the facilitation of casual and social, holistic and relationship centered care conversations in their families and communities, not just in healthcare settings. It's a thankless job to navigate fragmented healthcare services while trying to coordinate geographically dispersed family members to please help out. But because of COVID, it's now so often led by the eldest daughter or daughter in law that it's now a real, widely recognized phenomenon, the eldest daughter syndrome. So, to be more specific, we seek to help proactive family leaders who are typically eldest daughters to lead their families in the shared process of discussing, deciding, and documenting future healthcare goals and preferences based on what matters most to their family together as a whole. We're talking about interdependent advanced care planning, which is kind of new, a little bit. Through webinars and workshops on proactive family involvement, shared decision making, and advanced care planning, I am leading my startup to help them get their families to assess their needs and build on their strengths, proactively plan and care for each other holistically, and learn to cooperate on the job and collaborate for mutual benefit to work beyond safety and survival towards a shared, negotiated understanding of risk that prioritizes well being and delivering a dignified end of life experience. That means helping them measure success in terms of decision conflict and caregiver burden, confidence in caregiving and quality of life, and of course, a dignified end-of-life experience, which is impossible to define without a community of proactive family leaders coming together, sharing and learning from their lived experiences to help each other across every terminal illness of our physical human condition. So, in the absence of a community of proactive family leaders, we're building one from the ground up. Please join us. Today, we're hosting our first ever webinar on National Healthcare Decisions Day. And soon, on Memorial Day, we are presenting our project at the 19th World Congress of the European Association of Palliative Care in Helsinki, Finland. So we can get expert user testers from all over the world helping us improve what success looks like globally. For me, as a person that's been doing this for the last 5 years, success really looks like hope. No matter how we're living or what we're dying from, there's always hope. So please join our community to help your family come to terms and live well with a terminal illness interdependently as a whole family matter with dignity and hope for our future together. Thank you so much for that little bit. Just wanted to share about what I've been doing. And I would really love to get questions from you. Uh, Let me know what you think so far. It's been what, 3-4 hours already into this webinar, and we'd really like to know what you think, and specifically, for example, what you think of my presentation.
You're so cute. Well, I don't see any questions popping up just yet, so I have some. If you, um, so how can families foster that involvement, that being proactive versus reactive in these caregiving roles, while still maintaining their emotional resilience and fortitude? And
It's
that question was generated by AI.
yeah, it's one thing to be to be researching this and then actually like sharing out with other people and learning what they think, but it's really another thing to actually get in the face of it and
Hmm.
see what it's really like. Like, for example, how can families foster proactive involvement in caregiving roles, for example? How can that even happen? Um, and what's kind of funny, Kim, is just thinking about how families can get proactively involved. Is there a specific idea or concept that actually helps to glue a family together? And what I discovered was something that was so popular in the 50s, and it has ever since just kind of faded away as we became more sophisticated in our everyday lives. It's called cooperative learning. Um, Cooperative learning, yes. There's a lot of science behind it, but cooperative learning is basically hinged on what a Buddhist calls positive interdependence. And that alone, to me, was a mind opener. That alone told me that, number one, as a human being, I am not alone. No matter how different I think I may be, no matter how traveled I have become, no matter how literally alone I am, wherever I'm at, I am actually never alone. I have family, I have friends, I have people, I have relationships. And hopefully, when I go, they miss me. And that would make me happy because that means to me that, hey, at least I got to affect someone so deeply that they remembered me. Um, but truly, once you get into the community, you'll see that the very first start, the very first thing that I would love to share and have people talk about is all about positive interdependence. When you realize the power of that, you kind of feel less alone. You kind of feel like even if my father had died, I can still in my memory communicate with him. Um, Especially during gatherings that we have as a family moving forward, we can still talk about our dad, like he was here, and we'll still be able to remember and cherish every moment that we had with him. So positive interdependence is plays such a crucial role for anyone that is personally navigating a terminal illness, but hopefully with family. Um, and by family, it's 2025, guys. The concept of family has changed. Even if I speak in the terms of whole family, I do not mean the literal husband, wife, and children anymore. I hope that's going into the community. You weren't expecting that in the first place. Um, that has completely changed. It's not even gender-based anymore. These are things that are have changed with our times, and we have to recognize that fact because living and dying in this time is so remarkably different 50 100 years ago, and the support systems that we have had have changed over time. Government and institutions, however, that's kind of something that's going on right now, right? If you haven't been paying attention, there's a lot of things happening in the United States that, depending on your point of view, will make you think, wow, America is so unified and united, or America is so fragmented and changed, and people don't really like talking to each other anymore. So, those are things that you will have to come to terms with yourself. Why? Because, yes, living and dying is based on positive interdependence within people, sure. But think about it in a scale of society where you have families coming to terms and living well with a terminal illness. What do you think actually exists to support them, to help them out? These are governments and institutions that we have actually established. And right now, many things are happening that is changing all that. So I think it's really a good time for this project to come out at this time because it will challenge the way people think. Um, the more individualistic person who is a supporter of a certain point of view may not agree with the things that I myself am trying to advance. But also, I would challenge that person to actually think in terms of something beyond themselves, because that's something that, humans are very good at, you know, coming into ourselves, making ourselves feel better independently and alone. Netflix will make you do that. I don't need to go out. I just can be happy with my computer, with my internet access, and that's it. I don't need this mumbo jumbo about diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's certainly happening around the world, especially in America. Conversations around it are getting bigger and bigger. So yeah, it's certainly something that we need to reorient our minds at when we're hitting this really large problem of how to come to terms and live well with a terminal illness. As I had shared, there's three things already that can possibly help: proactive family involvement, shared decision making, and advanced care planning. The two that are soon to follow, with more research and more collaboration, have to do with healthcare team integration. As you may have heard already earlier, Norman, that's challenging. You're asking healthcare workers to chat or be in the digital space of families? Good luck with that. And it's actually true.
No, I think the concept is wonderful. Wonderful. It's just the patient confidentiality and
Right, right. And these are things that exist supposedly for our protection, but they're also existing to block us from these kinds of outreaches and getting together and learning from each other. So it's very challenging, and I'm just glad that we're hopefully asking the right questions, um, and hopefully building a better future together. Um,
boy,
because right now it's really quite challenging to even think about, will we even have governments and institutions in about 3 4 years time? You know, that's certainly something that is happening within our country, and if you travel, you will hear it from a lot of different people coming your way once they learn you're from America. You know, things are actually rippling out, and people are actually responding and reacting to this. And which is why um, I'm going to segue into how I'm so happy to have met Ben. Uh, just because when I met Ben, I thought I had cobbled together what I think would be the next 10 years of my life, trying to sort this out and try to find ways to make this work. But when I met Ben, I was so pleasantly surprised that no matter how much of a genius this plan could be, without actual data uh, that can be easily now, because of technology, accessed and leveraged for these kinds of very particular functions, it would be somewhat lacking in terms of effectivity. So I would like to share a little bit about Ben and his work. And Ben, you will hear perplexity or artificial intelligence summarizing who you are and what you do at Profusion Biometrics. So please bear with me and let me know if this is accurate. Okay. Thank you for this opportunity to introduce my special guest and his amazing work. Before I do, I just want to be perfectly clear. This intro was written by artificial intelligence. Ben Biddick is a leader in biometric innovation and the chief operating officer at Profusion Biometrics, a company specializing in advanced biometric solutions for healthcare and beyond. His work focuses on leveraging cutting-edge technology to enhance patient identification, streamline medical processes, and improve healthcare outcomes. With a background in leadership development and public service, Ben brings a unique perspective to creating systems that prioritize security, efficiency, and accessibility. Proactive family leaders navigating terminal illness can benefit from Profusion Biometrics innovations as they ensure accurate patient data management, reducing errors, and enabling personalized care during critical moments. Ben, how was that?
Sounds good to me. You made me sound even sound more spectacular than I am.
Well, I'm just so happy you're here so you can share a little bit about you yourself and Profusion Biometrics. We'd really love to hear more. And I see that you joined our community. So now I can definitely reach out to you and so that we can start learning and sharing together. So please
Sure.
share.
Thank you so much, Norman. It's been a pleasure to have met you and to continue this partnership here today. Thank you for everyone who's taking the time to listen or learn more about what we do at Profusion Biometrics. So psychometrics and biometrics, just as a general concept, are just ways of measuring things that are happening within the human body and mind. And as Norman has talked about, the positive interdependence here, the complex dynamic of the family system, no matter what form that takes of bonds, affection, commitment to one another, And one of the most sacred processes that human beings experience is the process of dying. And so these interdependent relationships can be quite complex. But when we take a few specific focuses here and really delve into this process that happens, it becomes a spectacular way of finding meaning and purpose, of having meaningful experiences together as you know, as you serve others. I've done work in the dementia space and know the complexities of what happens as our bodies change, not just in dementia, but at terminal illness. As our bodies change in these ways, we have different capabilities that become different, or things that we used to be able to do, like communicate our needs. We're no longer able to do that effectively at different times, depending on what parts of our body or what parts of our minds are affected. So what we really love to do is give the body and mind a voice, and not just the body and mind of the quote unquote patient or the person who is dealing with the healthcare system because of something that's happening in their body and mind, but also the caregivers, right? How many times do we see the caregiver experiencing the stress of caregiving, experience breakdowns in their own health or changes in their own capabilities? And what we really love to do is to bring psychometric processes to everyone involved in that care, that interdependence that's there, so that we understand certain things of personality traits of the caregiver, personality traits of the person who's experiencing the medical changes or the health changes, and then also the healthcare system, right? A very complex dynamic here, where more and more information systems are being incorporated in this, right? If you have nurses who are overworked, who have post-traumatic stress after rendering care throughout the COVID pandemic, and they have certain realities that they're navigating, and how do these things interrupt, or what barriers are occurring there for the sharing of information from a healthcare provider to a primary care provider to a therapist. If there's addiction related or substance use happening with a caregiver or with the person with the terminal diagnosis, different things like this, obviously extremely complex. And when we really hone in and start to understand, where are people at with comfort with mortality? Are they at peace with it? Are they going through the stages of grief? Are they going through, challenges associated with acceptance? Are they in an anger stage? And where are they at, knowing that the grief process is not necessarily a linear stage? And when we bring into this phase, along with what I refer to the 8 dimensions of wellness as articulated by different researchers. Sometimes people say there's 7 dimensions of wellness, sometimes there's 8, but usually what we're talking about are things like emotional wellness, social wellness, occupational wellness, financial, environmental, physical, intellectual, and spiritual, right? A very complex focus here. So what we really do is we bring our microscope in, we look at the dynamic of what's happening, how do people communicate, and then we bring in the data to help us understand, using different wearable tools, things like an Aura ring, like I'm wearing here, or a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, or any number of little wearables that are increasingly becoming potent and effective in their analysis. Now we have to ensure that there's security and consent in place to share the information with those who the person gives consent to share these things with. And so it's about trust and it's about security. And when we bring that data in, ideally, we're doing it in an emotionally intelligent way. So obviously, certain medical data, if we don't utilize that data in an effective way to bring healing, to bring support, to use these things to enrich our experience, to build relationship with the caregiving group. When we do that really well, we're able to give the body a voice, especially maybe in dementia-related care where the person is not able to communicate as well as they once were. And if we have a history there of relationship and partnership during that whole process, the data that is experienced over time, we can look at the differences of what are behaviors like when we're not experiencing REM sleep, or when a caregiver is not experiencing REM sleep, right? Or if blood glucose is increasing significantly because alcohol is being consumed heavily at different stages, because they're trying to cope, a caregiver's trying to cope, or a person with an illness is trying to cope and using alcohol in those ways. You know, different things that are happening there where we can really look at the whole spectrum of wellness and say, let's use these tools to increase our communication and understanding, knowing, hey, stress levels spike at this point. What was happening in that point while they were having a contentious conversation with a person about health insurance and what's covered and what's not, or you know, a dynamic between a family is particularly contentious because siblings are having difficulty accepting this or dealing with mortality or being present. What, you know, the eldest daughter is taking on an extreme amount of workload when it comes to caregiving. They're working full time. They're part of a sandwich generation where they're caring for their own small children, but also doing caregiving, and there's resentment building for an out-of-state sibling who is perceived as not contributing, et cetera. So basically, I don't want to take up too much time here, but I just wanted to give some basics here of what we do at Profusion Biometrics is we bring that lens and look at the wellness of everyone involved in that, seeing how they're interdependently relying on one another, challenging one another, and using all of these experiences without judgment to bring mindful awareness to what's happening, and then alleviating suffering in a compassionate way by using data to help communicate when certain components of that may not be able to, or to use some of the data to balance out the emotional side of things, to say this is when things spiked, this is when people experience sleep disturbances. These are ways that we can really invest in one another, to use the data to empower us to the most powerful potential bonding and relationships, increasing belonging, increasing acceptance, increasing awareness with one another, so that we can use all these tools in a wise way to care for each other, and we can all grow during that experience, because we're all going to experience the process of dying. And oftentimes a profound legacy is for someone who's dealing with a terminal illness is to help us understand how to better live, how to better love, and how to better navigate the process of dying ourselves. So these are some of the concepts. I'd be open to questions or to further things. I want to respect everyone's time, and am certainly grateful for the opportunity to speak with you all today.
Thank you so much, Ben.
I have a question, if that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I think that this is an amazing tool, and I'm curious of how what's the plan on connecting the people with resources to help? Because I feel like most caregivers know that they are over capacity, you know, and I think that it would help possibly have other, kind of what you said, other family members that are elsewhere, you know, it would maybe give them more concrete evidence of like, your sibling is really kind of suffering, you
Right.
know, so it kind of backs up that. But yeah, do you have any plans of creating, you know, like resource maps within different areas, or partnering with
Yes.
different, I'd love to hear
Absolutely.
about that.
I love that question, Angela. It's so insightful to, the very important aspect of partnering with people to get them the resources that they need in that particular phase of what's being experienced. So certain things, like I'm in Wisconsin, so we have an organization called the Aging and Disability Resource Center, where there are dementia care specialists in each county. So it's certain things where you can see, and it all depends on their ability, their willingness to, and their consent to share their personal information. But it is great to be able to say, to look at the data and see there's a spike in stress levels, decreased sleep disturbances, and then to pair that into this is what's happening in the process. And so supplements to this where we can say, let's dig into this a little bit, because sometimes people are so used to operating at that level of stress that it just becomes their normal, right? We know this as those who come alongside and attempt to shore up that support, to listen, to be that listening support, to help all those involved to have the supports that they need. It brings to their awareness sometimes where they get surprised of, like, I didn't even realize I was stressed, but I noticed I was, my heart rate was at 120 for the entire duration of this visit with the primary care doctor, because I was so frustrated by not feeling heard or this or that, where it really helps the person understand, yeah, this is significant. And then they can also share that with their primary care doctor, or forwarding that information to their nurse so that they can say, I'm having increased levels of stress. And a lot of times, if there is stigma for mental illness or mental health, if there's stigma associated with that, it often facilitates a conversation where if they look at it, if they're more willing to accept the medical side of that, where they're not going to necessarily say, I'm experiencing a lot of anxiety and I would benefit from seeing a therapist or a potential SSRI or things like that, depending on people's comfort level or where they're at with these whole processes. But they may be much more comfortable saying, yeah, I'm not getting sleep at night. I'm really stressed out and I'm experiencing this. So it gives a little bit of language, and it gives that data that says, well, if we need to bring this about through a medical language or through medical language about getting you support, what about respite? And in this area, you can experience respite opportunities here, or what you can do is this organization might have a support group when it comes to caregivers, or if you're dealing with Parkinson's and you're having mobility issues, getting your loved one to an appointment or this or that, this is a fleet of vehicles that provide transportation, etc. So certainly, yes, it's that beginning trust building sense of security, and then a supportive environment where we're able to articulate, if this is the challenge that you're experiencing, then we're able to call in those other support services. We're able to be effective in partnering with them to get things that reduce stress, to have that partnership that says, yeah, so it's confirming that you're going through something like this is significant. We need to get you support. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to effectively care for the person that you care about, because your health is going to give way. So let's get you, whether that's in-home care, if that's a possibility, if we need to look at some of the whether depending on the state and the location that they're at, what are the resources that are available? And could we ultimately reach out even beyond your geographic area to maybe a national group who understands this? Because even if it's a person who's from a different country or from a different location, if they care about you and are willing to listen, that itself can be a profound sense of relief to know that you're not alone. So it's each unique person and interdependent network and spiral of different realities that occur here. If we can bring those resources in to help give people support, then yes, 100% let's do that. And sometimes if we present them with the data, it proves to them, yes, I do. I see that I do. I do need support, and I'm trying my best to be tough enough, strong enough, self-reliant. But you know what? Uh, I'm a human being too, and it's okay to not bear it all in perfection at all times. That's a long-winded answer. I'm sorry.
Actually, so good, Ben. I wanted to make sure that I get to ask this for Barbara. Do you have experience about the age range of people using these devices?
Um, I guess it's a wide gamut, and it depends on people's. So what we do is we'll assess the fluency when it comes to tech, like tech fluency, with a family or a group of caregivers. So, basic questions like, do you use email? Are you comfortable texting? If not, then a lot of the interactions are going to be word of mouth, and we will take over a lot of the communication of the data. It's creating a fabric, a data fabric or a data mesh that really meets people where they're at. We don't want to inundate them with data, right? We need to pull the most meaningful data, and we can see, if they're able to put an aura ring on their loved one's non-dominant hand, their index finger, with the reading on the underside of the finger. And then we can certainly share with them all the data if they'd like. However, we can also encapsulate that to say, last night was a rough night for the person that you care about. And we would just recommend that you do a check-in, that you stop by. And if it sounds like that, are we seeing signs of dehydration? Are we seeing signs of a potential fall? What are these things? And so we try to communicate in a way where it's not too much information or too little information. We try to do an analysis of their tech fluency so that if it needs to literally be a verbal synopsis, a call in the morning to say, last night was a rough night. I would encourage you to check in with your loved one, ask particular questions about this, please. That may be the most helpful, or things like that. So it is something where, depending on their comfort level, and utilizing the data in an emotionally intelligent way, certain people who are 80 years old love it. They love the technology. They want to know all about it. They want to post it on Facebook. Some people don't want anything to do with any of that at all, but they will put the ring on their loved one and let their loved ones read the data and come up with, and then it becomes a partnership. Hey, I just noticed I saw your data last night. I'd recommend you make sure you're drinking a little bit of Gatorade or a little bit of water, and keep hydrated. Different things like that. So we try to use translation services here as well, where we translate data in ways that are meaningful.
Thank you so much, Ben. I have
Thank
to
you.
brag that I am a firm believer of devices. I'm all over my devices all the time.
Yeah.
So this is why it makes me so happy. Number one, that I met you. Number two, that we're working together. And number three, you're in the community. You're in a
Yeah.
family matter.
Oh,
And
I'm very honored to be a part of it.
because you will see, hopefully, as we build out this community, that people are going to be interested in.
Mm.
Over time, you're gonna see like a lot of people reaching out to you at
Mm.
the whole family matter to learn more about proficient biometrics. And
Mm.
hopefully by then we will have carved out a solution together uh,
Wonderful.
with users in the community. And so I just wanted to make sure to invite people to join our community. Here's the link again. I keep sharing this link every hour by the hour, just because it's such an amazing experience for me to think about, wow, I attended a webinar, and right after that I joined the community, and I was able to reach out to the speaker and learn more, and their fellow members like me. They're not in an office that I will have to email them or like learn more. They're already here. I can chat with them directly, so that's really awesome. Thank you so much for, number one, the opportunity for us to work together, because as you know, this space is in such a need of
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
everything that we have spoken about. But to summarize for everyone, um, since we're at that time, we are all about proactive family involvement. We're all about shared decision making. We're all about advanced care planning with life story work as our main core solutions. Those three alone are powerful enough to help you and your family come to terms and live well with a terminal illness together as a whole family matter. But there are two things that are embedded in that somewhat that we will make sure to make explicit, because it's so important. And those two are healthcare team integration, any kind of shared decision making or advanced care planning, when you're not involving healthcare settings or people, you're actually creating silos for yourselves. You're not becoming interdependent societally. Yes, there needs to be positive interdependence in the family setting, but in a society where there are multitudes of families coming to terms and living well with a terminal illness, it is so important for healthcare team integration to exist within this space. And then the last bit, which is, as you know, something that I'm so pleasantly surprised by and so grateful for now, is the possibility of integrating biometrics and psychometrics to help data drive your discussions, your decisions, your everyday life. It's here. It's not far off into the future. Those things are right now here and they can help. You can just go to any technology provider and they will be happy to talk to you. And don't think about it in terms of like, whoa, that's something that just a fad now or a trend now. It's actually getting deeper and deeper into our everyday lives, and the more that we learn it and use it and actively talk about it, the more we get to educate ourselves with the benefits and challenges of technology. All right. So I hope that you got a little bit about what we talked about in this hour in my presentation, and I hope that you enjoyed uh, Ben's presentation about biometrics and psychometrics, because that's what he does. It's his full-time gig. He loves doing this. And it's amazing to hear, so much passion and, energy from a person that really cares with what they're trying to